So I'm a little late on this. Kentucky was Saturday night. It's now Monday night when I'm recording this. So I'm gonna save the whole type of just recap of the race thing and just give my review of the race, the Quaker State 400 at Kentucky, which is always every season my least favorite race, the race I look forward to the most, or the race I look forward to the least. I just don't. I have never liked Kentucky since 2011 when it's been added onto the schedule. It has not had a great race. It hasn't really had a good race. You may ask, well, what about 2019? I'll get to 2019, what happened on Saturday night in a little bit. But to talk about things, the last two laps were phenomenal. I'm going to start out on a great just kind of mood. The last two laps were phenomenal. I would say the best two laps of the season. You give the drivers with a package that has a lot of downforce, and along with that, where you can move from, the bottom of the track to the top of the track, you can get out of the dirty air, then it will produce some good restarts. That's what, the cars are easier to drive. They don't spin out by themselves. It's very easy to make those moves like that in restarts and not crash. And add on to that, Kentucky did some PJ1 things throughout the week to try and improve the racing. They put the PJ1 everywhere but the bottom groove to try and increase opportunities to pass. It did work like it was intended to, which is something good because repaves being one groove and all that, like we saw at Texas, at Michigan, that just doesn't work out with a package like this. We saw it at Michigan. There was a 2 lap to go restart. What happened there was Joey Logano pulled away. You know why he pulled away? Because there's no way to get out of his dirty air because there's 1.5 grooves at Michigan. At Texas, we saw some single file stuff. Here at Kentucky, the finish was great. I would say finish of the year so far. There's still more race to come, but for now, Kentucky holds the spot for finish of the year. That was insane. You saw two drivers who gave it their all, wanted the win at any cost, and they were racing hard. They were hitting, but it was clean, hard racing. It wasn't like Kyle Busch drove in there and put Kurt Busch on the wall. He drove in there, tried to hit him. Kurt was just too far ahead, got away. He won the race. Kyle Busch second. Great finish. Saw some great hard racing. That's something NASCAR needed. They were driving their cars. They were up on the wheel. Now, for the race as a whole, it's just been it wasn't great, I'll be honest. First and second stage made me want to fall asleep, because I saw a stat somewhere that within the first 100 laps of the race, there were only 2 green flag passes for the lead. Ironically, maybe those 2 green flag passes for the lead happened on pit cycles, but it wasn't great the first 2 stages. In fact, it was subpar. It was horrible the first 2 stages. It was bland. Everything was missing from those races, or from those stages. Stage 3 was a little bit better, but it wasn't anything. 2 great laps, 2 great, fantastic laps do not help a race that was bad as that. We could take those 2 same laps that we had now, put it at like Kentucky last year, or a Michigan race last year, or the first Vegas race last year, or the Auto Club race last year, or the Auto Club race this year. Those 2 great laps don't mean jack squat when we're talking about 267 laps. That there are 265 other laps that were subpar and produced action few and far between, and most of the action happened off of restarts. We barely saw any action once we got 15-30 laps into a run. So it's not like the race was good. It's seen as good because of the finish, and I think that's a thing that really hurt some things. Like there was that the Dover race in 2016, that first Dover race. Remember the amazing battle between Kyle Larson and Matt Kenseth, where they were both sideways and battling each other in different grooves. That was a great finish. That was a great battle to the finish. The race itself was not great. Jeff Gluck's poll got 90% yes, 10% no. But the race was horrible. Another example is Phoenix in 2016. Had a great side-by-side beating and banging run to the start-finish line between Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick. Otherwise, I don't remember anything that happened during that race. I'm sorry. There are some races I remember from 2016 and from seasons like that. But those two races, I don't remember as a whole. I just remember the finish of those races. And they both got major yes percentages because of those finishes. The races had nothing to do with how high they were. It's just the finish. Even Chicagoland last year, as great a race as that was, if Kyle Busch does not get held up in lap traffic and he wins by a second over Kyle Larson, I bet you that poll goes from, I think it was 92% yes and 8% no. I bet that goes from that to mid to low 80s yes, because it would have been Kyle Busch winning in non-spectacular fashion, and the finish, the slide job finish, would not have happened, and people would have just been like, oh, the finish was crap. And that's where NASCAR has kind of ruined it with the chase format we have with the win and you're in. Anyone, you only remember the finishes now because that's the thing that's important. The finishes are the most important part of the race because they get you into the playoffs. Even the playoffs as a whole have kind of hindered on mid-season storylines. Before, it would be like, oh, Kyle Busch had a good points night. Joey Logano also did. They're fighting for the championship right now. Instead, none of that matters. No one, have you seen anything about the regular season championship and how that points battle is going? Because Joey Logano and Kyle Busch are pretty close for that, but it's not brought up because it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. While those playoff points are great, they're only going to mention it at Darlington, at Indy, when it actually matters. Now it's just like, oh, we're waiting for drivers to win and get themselves in. We don't care about, stuff like that, some mid-season storylines, which has also hurt races as a whole, because before you would find a lot of things to talk about the race. Even if it was dog shit, you could find something out of the race to pull and make a good story out of. Now, if a race is bad and, it has an exciting moment at, one point, cool. But, you're only focused on the finish. If the finish is bad, then what are you going to do? Are you going to go and be like, nah, whatever? No, you're going to focus on the finish because the finish is the only part that matters. So if the finish is good, voila, you got a good race in NASCAR's opinion. But no one could pass the first two stages. In fact, watching on RaceView was the most painful thing I've ever seen because at one point, I forget who the leader was, but whoever the leader was caught Corey LaJoie. I think it was Daniel Suarez was the race leader. Caught Corey LaJoie in lap traffic and went from a 2-second lead within a lap or two down to a couple tenths, all because of one lap car. One single lap car. The car running in 32nd position held up the race leader for 5 straight laps because the leader could not get by him because we have gigantic spoilers and we run wide open through the corners. It's impossible to pass people like that. We saw it at Texas. We saw it at Michigan. We saw it here. It's so hard to pass lap traffic when there's no groove anywhere else. When you have to follow the guy, you're not going to pass him. It was hard to pass him before, and we made it harder. What? You improved the restarts. Great job, NASCAR. You improved 3 laps after restart. Great job. You improved it if there's restarts. Long green flag runs suck. And the only reason we are talking about a great finish is because of a Bubba Wallace cut down tire. If that does not happen, Joey Logano wins by 2.5, 3 seconds. And then, what is it about the race? Then maybe 30% less people say yes to it. Because it's not Kurt Busch winning, it's Joey Logano winning by 3 seconds. Think about that. Because so many circumstances line this race up to be voted good. But, yeah, I just don't really want to talk about it anymore because the race wasn't really good. I mean, that's my personal opinion. The race wasn't good. The finish was great. I'm not knocking the finish. The finish was great, but finish and the whole race are two different things. And for 2 laps to define 268 or however many they ran, it's not right for me. No matter what package. This is not just a 2019 package where I just hate it because it was that package. No matter what package you use, 2018, 2016, 2014, 2015, 2012, 2013, no matter what package you use, if we had 265 crappy laps and then we had 2 good laps, I wouldn't call the race good. I would call the finish a great finish and a classic finish, one that will, kind of live on because it was a Busch brother, battle as they were beating and banging, and he had a good call with Rick Allen. But other than that, no one's going to remember the race. They're only going to remember the finish. No one's going to remember what happened on lap 184 in the race because nothing happened on lap 184 of the race. Nothing happened at all during the race except for at the end. That was the only good part of the race. There was nothing good before the end of the race. That is my opinion. I'm sticking to it, and you don't have to like it. You might have an opinion that Kentucky was the best race of the season. Congratulations if you think that way. But in my mind, it was a crap race with a great outcome and a great finish. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video.